Hi, I'm Leonard Achan, the CEO of LiveOnNY New York, and we are honored to be here today at New York City Health and Hospitals Kings County YouTube podcast, where we're a special guest. And we have the pleasure of being with Marsha-Ann Hay today, who is a special guest that we will be talking about a very special topic. A lot of the community knows about organ donation, and we sometimes talk about organ and tissue donation. What a lot of people don't realize about tissue donation is that a single tissue donor can change the lives of up to 75 people. And one of the ways that they can do that is with the gift of sight. So you are a double cornea recipient, Marsha. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Lenny. I sure am. I usually like to start with a quotation.
Oh, please do.
One of my favorite is Khalil Gibran, who says, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It's when you give of yourself that you truly give." And I have been given not one gift, but two gifts.
Beautiful.
The miraculous gift of sight.
Absolutely. And I think that is beautiful, and it speaks to why we're all really here, right? The beauty and the gift of our generous community.
Definitely.
To give the most righteous and unbelievable gift that they can to another human being. And that is wonderful. Tell us a little bit about what happened, why you needed a double cornea transplant.
Well, my story, it spans over 24 years, so we'll need more than the time that we have allotted to us. However, brevity is less grief, so I'll try to keep it short. So from I was a child, I always had allergy problems. And for me, I used to rub my eyes, and you could hear it. And even though the doctors say that my condition, I was diagnosed with acute keratoconus, which is either hereditary or I was told from rubbing the eyes, which would be, in my case, justified, because I used to really go in. So I remember when I was in, I think it was fifth grade. I'm originally from Jamaica, West Indies, so I moved here 6 years ago. So prior to coming here, I was in high school, and it was as if dark clouds covered my eyes. I couldn't see. I was in math class. I couldn't see anything. And I thought this was the end for me, because I couldn't see the board, what was happening. I thought I was going blind, and I was an emotional wreck. And I called my parents, and we set up an appointment with my ophthalmologist, and from then, that was about 1994, thereabout, and let's not get into my age, but 1994, and it took about 4 years thereafter with research, continuous research, and my mom came up here, Manhattan Iron Throat Hospital. They were the ones who did the surgery at that time. My cousins had friends at the eye bank, and so a lot of research took place,
Sure.
and then you had the list that you had to wait for.
And how long did you wait?
So it would be in total, I don't remember the exact figures, Lenny, but the duration from finding out and diagnosing what I had to actual getting the surgery. I had surgery July 15, 1998, that I will never forget. So it would be the span of within over 5 years.
Right.
From diagnosis. And then it was 20 years after that, February 13, I term it my second Valentine's Day gift. I had my second corneal transplant.
Wow, and that first time that you got that call, not the second, but that first time, if you remember how it felt, what did it feel like in hearing that you had that match?
It felt that I could live again, that I could live on.
Right.
It was very emotional for me, and I don't want to start crying on this podcast, but every time I speak about it, I get really emotional. But, I couldn't even see the big E. For me to get a life-changing experience like this, to hear that there was a match and I could get the tissue, a good tissue, it was a sense of relief for me. I'm an actress as well, so reading the scripts and performing, if we had more time, I could go into one instance when, before getting the surgery, I was on stage and it was my time to go off, and the stage was so dark.
Wow.
And I couldn't get off before the scene changed, and my partner was like, "Elmire, why are you still here?" I said, "I'm just leaving, my dear," and I sashayed off this stage, because I really couldn't see. So when I got that call, it was a sigh of relief for me, because I could do so many things.
And so many of our audience members sitting there today, they may have a heart valve, they may have had a dental procedure, they may have a new ACL from a sports injury. Many of them don't realize that a donor and a donor family decided to give that precious gift of life to them, to enable you to do those things that you couldn't do. Real people, anybody listening, the ability to live on and give back, and that's what you're doing today, is giving back. When you think about that giving back, if there was one thing you could say to your donor or donors in this case, what would it be?
The donors, you are the real heroes. And I'm going to say that without the organ, without the tissue, without the donor, there is no hope, no story, no transplant. But when there's an organ donor, life springs from death. Sorrow turns to hope, and a terrible loss becomes a gift.
Yeah.
And I'm living testimony of this gift, and I'm eternally grateful to my 2 donors, and I'm living life because of you, and I will continue to make you proud, because your loved one lives on in me, living their legacy. And I thank you.
Beautiful. And we're here at New York City Health Hospitals, Kings County, an amazing donor hospital. Right? One of 100 hospitals in our community where people may not realize that's what's going on, right? Our community, the people listening, they're making decisions, and for the listeners out there, that could happen in one of 2 ways, right? You could be a first-person donor where you sign your driver's license or sign up for the state registry, but in 80% of cases in New York City, the family members are making the decision for their loved one.
Yes.
So this is really about what you just said. It's about the totality and generosity of one of the greatest cities in the world and one of the greatest organizations in the world, Kings County, that serves our community every single day. And people need to make that connection to what happens in the hospital and the ability to give you your sight back. Definitely. Right? So what are the most favorite things you can take away from having that sight back? Obviously, you're an actress. You said reading,
yes.
But give us like 2
reading my
things.
scripts. I also am a guest experience manager at a hotel, so I can see the computer screen. So I can go out and see my friends, who used to think I was a snob because they would see me and wave, and they're like, "Oh, Marsha doesn't see me," because I really couldn't see them.
Yeah. Amazing.
So
That's
yes.
amazing. Is there anything else you want to say to our community today?
Anything else I want to? One person can save up to 8 lives, so do think about it. You can make a great impact on the lives of others and help them to live on.
Thank you, Marsha. We appreciate this.
Thank you
for
having me.